Alright, let's take a look at the chart action for Cardano. In yesterday's video, we were looking at this triangle pattern, something like this. I was using the wicks and the bodies, and I want to reevaluate that. So if we move from the bodies to the bodies on the 4-hour time frame, it looks like we broke above that trend line, and then we came back down and broke beneath it again. So what I'm looking at now is moving that trend line again to that resistance up here. What I'm looking at now is a channel going something like this, which means that we haven't actually broke out of this channel yet, in my opinion. You could also argue that we have support right here and we have support right here. If you zoom out to like maybe the daily time frame, you can also argue that we're still in this big uptrend, something like this, and we never really broke this uptrend going something like this. If we switch back to the 4-hour time frame, maybe we can see it a little bit better. We can line this trend line up with these support lines, something like that. So in my opinion, there's two different possible patterns that we might be looking at. We have a channel pattern going something like this, and we also have a rising wedge going something like that, with this bottom support line and this top trend line. If we delete this one, you might be able to see it a little bit better. Let's get rid of these green lines. And yeah, I mean, it looks kind of like a rising wedge if you just look at it in the bigger time frame. We're on the 4-hour time frame, or when you zoom out, should I say, we're on the 4-hour time frame right now, and I basically got rid of that triangle pattern that I was watching. It looks like we created a new resistance. Let's see if we could break to the upside or if we break to the downside. I think if we break to the upside, we could target from the top to the bottom of this wedge, something like this, from the top to the bottom of that trend line. Drag it to the breakout, and we're looking at a target of approximately, we might be looking at a target of approximately 3.75, 74, somewhere around there. However, I still will be watching this bottom support line right here, just like I was before. If we break that going to the downside, I'm going to get a little bit cautious, and I'll look for previous support levels to see if we get support on them. Like I said, we have support right here, and we have support right here. We might be looking at a channel pattern as well, something like that. So even if we break this trend line going to the downside, we might get support right here, and we might be just traveling in this channel, something like that. For the meantime, we're going to have to wait and see which one it breaks. Right now, we'll be watching this trend line and this trend line, in my opinion. Alright, so we're on the total crypto market cap, and we've been looking at this triangle pattern, something like this. We were waiting for a break to the upside or the downside. We got a break to the upside. So what I was doing is targeting from the top to the bottom of that triangle, something like that, dragging it to the breakout, and I was looking at a target of approximately 2.32 trillion. Right now, we're sitting at around 2.222 trillion. In general, we have support right here, support right here, support right here. That's giving me this uptrend going something like this. That's the main trend line that I'm watching. Until we break that one going to the downside, I'm assuming that we're pretty much in an uptrend. Alright, so if we zoom out a little bit and go to the daily time frame, these are the previous resistances that I was kind of watching. We had the first one down here. We went past that one. We had some resistance right here. It looks like we're blowing past that one. Right now, it looks like we're coming up to we're kind of passing this resistance right here, but this is the one I think we're dealing with right now. In general, I don't see why we can't come up and retest this previous resistance up here. So what I'm thinking is putting a horizontal red line right here at the body of that top right there, and maybe putting one at the wick as well. So we have a couple lines to watch when we start approaching those levels up here. I think we might be able to use these previous resistances as clues to when we might get a correction going to the downside. I'm not saying we're going to get a correction for sure here, but this might be just something to keep your eye on. Alright, so if we take a look at Cardano to Ethereum, we were looking at this rising wedge, something like that. We got to break out to the downside right here. I was saying we need to watch previous support levels. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame so you can see a little bit better. I was saying we need to watch previous support levels right here, and right here. And look what happened, guys. We got support right on this level right here. That's why I do that. So we got support right here, and we broke out right there. That's why I think we got that pump going to the upside a little bit. Now we're dealing with this other downtrend that I was talking about before. I told you we had resistance right here, we had resistance right here, we had resistance right here. That was giving me this downtrend, something like that. We had resistance right here, we had resistance right here. We had this downtrend going something like that. We broke that one going to the upside, then we got resistance. Now we're kind of back in that downtrend. But I think if we could break this trend line going to the upside, that's when we'll start to see a better pump going to the upside in general. It looks like we're getting support right here and maybe support right here. We close that 4-hour right here, and it looks like we're kind of getting a green candle right there. Let's see if this can hold going something like this, we might be looking at a trend line moving to the upside, something like this. And if, like I say, if this chart is going up, this is good for Cardano. If this chart is going down, this is good for Ethereum. I do like how we got support right here, and it looks like we're kind of holding support a little bit right here. Let's see, like I said, let's see if we could keep that momentum going to the upside. And if we break this trend line, we might see a nice little move going to the upside. All right, so we're looking at Cardano to Bitcoin, and we're watching something similar that's happening on the Cardano chart. So we got a breakout to the upside of this trend line that we had right here. This basically this resistance line. We broke out right there real quick, and then it looks like we got resistance, but we're still holding on that bottom support line, something like that. We haven't broken this trend line going to the downside. What I'm looking at now, though, is we're on the 4-hour time frame. I think we could delete this, and we might have to reevaluate the top resistance lines just like we did on the Cardano chart. We have resistance right here, and resistance right here. We're basically looking at a rising wedge. A rising wedge is a bearish pattern, but in a bullish trend, it can break to the upside as well. In an overall bullish trend is what I mean. If we do break this trend line going to the upside, we could target from the top to the bottom of this wedge right there, drag that to the breakout, and we're looking at a target of around 0.0000. We're looking at a target of around 0.00006992 satoshis. But basically, if this chart is going up, it's good for Cardano. If this chart is going down, it's good for Bitcoin. Alright, so if we swing back to Cardano, I'm looking at this resistance right there, giving me this trend line, something like that. That's the main top trend I'm watching. And then we have support right here, support right here, support right here, and even more going down, right down here. So I'm watching this support level right there. Let's see which one we break going to the upside or to the downside. In general, I like the way the total crypto market cap is looking, and I'm thinking that if we could just break those trend lines on the Cardano to Ethereum chart, then it'll also make Cardano start moving up, and we just got to watch for a breakout going to the upside right here. If we do, I think we could maybe target around 3.7475 possibly. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you guys like that video, hit that thumbs up button.